9 years to the day since we lost our first democratic president, Nelson Mandela. Tata, or Madiba, as he is affectionately known, will always be remembered as a political force who gave up his life in service of this country. Today, our reporter Ronald Masinda is in the Eastern Cape visiting the late president's hometown. He's been speaking to people who remembered him and really reflecting on this sad day. Ronald, thank you so much for joining us. So talk to me about the conversations you've been having today and what's been happening.
Hello, Sally. Well, today there was a lot of festivities here at the Nelson Mandela Museum. There were a lot of enjoyments in terms of entertainment and music for the public who came in their numbers to celebrate the life of Dr. Nelson Mandela. There were religious leaders also talking about the current issues faced in South Africa, the issue of gender-based violence being one of the main issues, and way things could have changed had Dr. Mandela been around and to lead the country. But the mood was completely different in Kunu, where we were earlier on. We saw Ronald Mandela, as well as we heard Graça Machel were at the grave site of Dr. Nelson Mandela, and as per custom they cleaned the grave and just paid their respects. So we didn't see both of them here during the festivities, but those who were here had fond memories of Utata.
You've also spoken to Madiba's eldest grandchild, Ndileka. What did she say to you?
So Ndileka, I asked her a question, Sally, just taking us back through that day 9 years ago when the late grandfather was in his deathbed, and just talking to us about her being in the medical profession and being part of the team that looked after Utata during his last days. And one can have vivid memories of that particular evening in Houghton, where before Utata passed on, there were those concerns where his condition was said to be critical but stable, and eventually he took his last breath 9 years ago to today. But we also heard from Ndileka Mandela. This is what she had to say.
For more than 8 years, myself and my aunt were part of what we called Project Infinity or Project X, which was preparation for his funeral. So on this day, I remember that around about this time, midday, I'm ICU nurse by profession, I knew that this was going to be his last day, because when I came to Houghton around 12 midday and looked at the monitor, I could see that his heart rate was slowing down, what we call bradycardia in nursing medical terms, and I knew it was the day that he would stop breathing.
You've also spoken to his grandson Mandela and asked him to reflect a little on what's going on today. As we speak, of course, the ANC-NEC meeting to discuss our current president and the way forward on that Phala report. So there's so much at stake for today's ANC.
Yes, indeed. And what Mandela told us earlier is that, his grandfather would have been disappointed to see the ruling party, going through such difficulty under its current leadership. He says that his grandfather was a selfless person who always put the needs of the people first before, himself. And talking to Mr. Mandela earlier on, he also mentioned, Sally, that Dr. Nelson Mandela always said that if people feel that they're not getting enough from the ANC and that the ANC is taking them backwards, they are more than welcome to vote for other parties. He says that this was an illustration of just how modest and honest his grandfather was, a man who served one term as president, and even though there were calls that he must serve another term, Madiba decided to step down. We heard from Mr. Mandela earlier on, and this is what he had to say further.
Today we are facing challenges internally in the organizations, where in the past it has always been outer challenges, fighting colonialism, fighting apartheid, but now we have to face the factions within the organization. We have to face self-serving leaders that are only interested on their own pockets. And how do we rid ourselves of that? And I think as a collective, if we come together as individuals and as a collective, we can be able to find those solutions. But I think we need to be truly truthful and brutal in our own analysis of what is happening in the organization. If we do not fight corruption head on, we'll never rid ourselves of the cancer.
All right, so reflections there on 9 years since the death of Nelson Mandela. Thank you so much from that update from the Eastern Cape eNCA reporter Ronald Masinda.